World of Krypton, issue 1. Robert Venditti writing, with Michael Avon OMing on the art. So this is a Krypton story set, as we find out in the issue, around the time of Kara's birth. So it's it's not right before they launch Kal-El. It's about
2 years.
About 10, 13, whatever age Kara typically is when they send her off.
Yeah.
So yes, that's where we are. So I kind of hated this. I'll just put that out there.
It's gonna end up being not my favorite of the week. Like it's kind of superfluous because we kind of all know the story of Krypton, and just I don't know what Venditti, who I genuinely like, I don't know how he's gonna be able to tell it differently, because we've gotten the kind of heroic Zod before, right? Like we've had that turn where him and Jor-El were friends before, what we traditionally know, and the whole idea of Krypton not listening to the Science Council and dooming itself is very well worn.
Yeah.
And so just to add some interpersonal family stuff into this, I don't know.
And I don't know if like these characters may all be pulls from like past stories. They're not all original creations. But like bringing in like this extra cousin of Jor-El and his brother, bringing in like all these other characters that are in this story, I just found myself, I don't give a crap about any of you. Like I really don't.
I'm just gonna say I think I enjoyed this a lot more than both of you two, and not. But
I mean, I think I hated it. I mean, it's a bit hard not to.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it more. But not that I think it's amazing, especially the writing. Like everything you've just said, I kind of agree with. That it's this well-worn kind of repeatable thing that it's nothing interesting. I don't know how it's going to tell it any differently, or if it even will. I don't disagree with any of that. That's all true. But I love Oeming's art. I think it looks gorgeous, and I
hate it. I hate it.
Thank you, Pete.
I hate this art.
I'm not for a long time. This is one of those things that's like, as a comic fan, you're supposed to, it's Oeming. He did powers with Bendis. I've never liked that style. Like, if you like it, cool. I don't think it's.
I'll be honest. I read like 3 pages of this, and I almost didn't finish it. And the only reason why I kept reading, just to sort of like okay, I gave it a proper chance. Yeah. But like I knew kind of early on I did not like this art, and I wasn't liking the faces. I wasn't liking not for me.
It's very stylized for a book that I feel like would have actually benefited from a house style.
Yeah, not even house style.
If this was house style, this would have been the most generic, boring book.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think house style, but I think this is far too cartoony stylized for a story that's meant to deal more with like betrayal, intrigue, and serious issues, and like all that.
Which he's done with Powers, right? Which I understand that's kind of the vibe they're going for here. But it just, I don't feel it works on Krypton.
Like Jor-El goes to see his brother because they're going to like celebrate Kara being born, right? So it's like a
christening, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Basically. Right, and Zor-El, right? He's got this like goofy Justin Bieber haircut, and he looks like a teenager who's trying to be hip.
Right.
And I'm just like, what is this?
He has a younger brother, they point out.
I mean, true, yeah.
So,
but he doesn't have to look a douchebag.
Yeah, true.
Maybe he's a douchebag.
My main problem is the bad guy is named Cruel.
Cruella de Vil.
And I was just like, Venditti, all right, like let me check before I criticize.
Yeah, so like the half of it, I mean, other than the science teaser, the scientist who discovers something's like killing some animals out somewhere. Other than that, most of this is at this party. It's the interpersonal stuff with the cousin who's a bit of a shithead who turns out to be kind of behind the assassins.
I love that, like the art when he shows up first, where he's there in the cape with the big collar, and he's there with a big shitting grin, putting his hand on the shoulder, like. I love that stuff. Like again, I don't think the writing's amazing. I think the writing it's not bad. It's just fine. But the art just I love it.
Okay. So Cruel goes back to Action Comics 297.
Okay.
February 1963. So I'm not going to hang that on Venditti. He's just playing with established character names and whatnot.
I won't hang the name on him, but I just don't generally like the voices or the characterization of the characters in this.
No, yeah.
And that includes him.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work either. But I wouldn't have been as annoyed when they say, "Oh, your cousin Crew," and then I was like, "Oh shit, his name's Cruel." Come on.
I at least appreciate they had the restraint never to actually put Cruel to make it like I think that was a very intentional choice not to put that there, so you didn't spend too much time thinking about
right. And
I just can't wait until the real plot of this book is revealed that he wants to get like 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the stuff with the scientist at the beginning with the thought beast and something is killing them. She kind of realizes that there was nothing wrong. They just lost the will to live, and they're almost like the precursor to Krypton.
Yeah, it's just like the first sign about a decade early that like things are starting to go awry. Yeah,
yeah.
I like that much, and seeing how venerated Jor-El seems to be, it's gonna be like, well, what happened to make them not listen to him? Because he seems to be like a big name on Krypton. This whole House of El, the fact that the cousin wants to take him and Zor out, and then he can, clear the way for the House of El or whatever. And that they're buddies with Zod, who's back from which again, this is all just stuff that I love as a continuity nerd, but he's talking about the Dominators attacking Daxam and repelling the that invasion, and that's where he's coming straight from. So again, what happens in those years that that makes him want to take over Krypton?
Yeah, what happens in Daxam stays on Daxam.
Yeah, true.
No, I mean he's wanting to retire. Jor-El doesn't want a kid, so there's all these things that all these things are going to change in the next 10 years of this story. Maybe even closer to 15, because I think Kara's meant to be more like a full-on teenager.
Well, she goes depending on when she was either the babysitter or she was still at least 10 years older that remembers baby.
I guess it just depends. If she arrived when she's like 16, like was she 16 when she left, or was it a couple of years in the ship? Did she age a bit on the journey?
Because I did like that. I think that was from the Batman Superman run from Jeff Loeb, that she was meant to be, his caretaker, and then her ship got lost.
Oh yeah, that's just been the case since then. Yeah,
but I always liked that
her ship got
they added to it.
Yeah, the ship got delayed, and because of that, Superman was already grown up when she arrived, and instead he's now older than her. That's just been like what they've done every interpretation since then.
Yeah, but it's like depending on, was she 16? Was she 10? Like, yeah, I
never got the impression that she aged significantly in the journey. I always got the impression that's the age she left as. So
I always knew it was like 14 to 15, which is, I think a lot of the time she's not quite 16. I think because they tend to play her slightly younger when she first arrives.
I'm just thinking of admittedly it's the New 52 I'm thinking of, but I'm just thinking she was maybe about that age when she arrived then. But I'm just ballparking.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think we're all in that same range of 14 to 17 sort of.
Yeah. Well, she's old enough in the comics that she goes to high school. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here that I can see what they're doing with, but I didn't really enjoy reading it.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy reading that. I was kind of just like, I'm just getting through this so I can talk about it, and I wasn't into it at all. So easy drop for me, this one after issue 1. I'm not interested in reading issue 2 of this.
Real quick, Connor, what do you like about Oeming's art?
I think it's the pacing of it. I think I really like the pacing. I know that I can see why the faces aren't for everyone, especially I don't think the faces are too bad when it's close-ups on faces. I get it when it's wider shots and you see them in contrast with the full body. I think that's where they look a little bit more wrong, so to speak. For me, it's the tone, the pacing. I really like the bold, clean lines, kind of really thick, heavy inks. I think it's good, just good for that stuff. I think it looks fun. I know maybe that's not necessarily the tone that you want, but I mean, I like it. I just like the experience of reading it. I just think it looks nice and enjoyable to read through, even when the story is whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that just doesn't. It's never worked for me, and I've been afraid to say that. So I don't want
I think it's very stylized. So I think it's
revoked.
Something you like or hate. It's very
I've not seen a lot of Oeming's art. Like I've seen a little bit of it, and when he's done like a special hero there or something, or maybe an anthology story. So I didn't remember him. So I went into this with no expectations. If anything, I was expecting the art that I saw on the cover, because the cover's quite nice. And then my disappointment, the crushing disappointment of opening,
oh no,
it'd be like, oh, it's like this.
He's like giving it back to a shop, going like, the art's broken. It doesn't match the front. But so the cover artist is Miko Suayan, who didn't they do the Harley book? Harley Joker, that was like the Fincher-esque one.
Yes.
Oh, sounds right.
Criminal Sanity, was that one?
Yeah,
That's the one.
Yeah, that sounds right. And
that's the cover artist.
I think the art on the cover, yeah, it's fine. It's a perfectly decent cover. But I prefer the interior art by orders of magnitude.
Are you sure your eyes didn't get broken along with the arm?
I can't be certain of that, but I don't know. It pops. It pops.
It pops.
I also as well. I think as much as I like Oming's pacing and the bold lines and the inks, Faladi's colors I think are doing a huge job as well of just all the vibrancy that it brings to it. That's a big part of what I like about this book.
I got nothing to add. We can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
All right, we give it a Matt.
I'm gonna give this a 5.5.
Connor.
That's a 6.5.
Straight 5 for me. I felt nothing.
Even though you started this by saying you hated it, that's
kind of hated it. Okay, I mean, like, it's not a complete trash. This is not. It's not like I'm reading like a Layfeld book. Like, there's layers to this.
Yeah.
So I'll go with a 5. I just thoroughly uninteresting. None of the family drama stuff was like, okay, I don't care about any of this crap you're adding to this mythology.